Hey everyone, Margarita here. This is episode 13 of my severe carbon monoxide poisoning, which initially went untreated. I'm going to get back into some of these symptoms here for people who are Googling severe carbon monoxide poisoning symptoms or repeated exposure symptoms, trying to figure out if that's what's wrong with them, if that's what they have, or someone that they love is having these issues and someone's trying to Google on their behalf. Because a lot of times if somebody's in that predicament, they can't use their phone. They probably can't even see their phone. And if they can, the text seems to be off. So even if you're trying to text, the wrong letters are popping up. So even though it was extremely hard to communicate by text as well, and read. So this could be somebody Googling this for a friend or a loved one who is experiencing these things. And if you are that person trying to advocate for that person, please do not leave that person without help, because that makes matters much worse and that makes their chances of survival much less. I can just definitely say that from personal experience. So I want to get back into some of these symptoms. I had something what I would call brain shock, but now that some time has gone on and I've gone through what I've gone through and I am where I am today, 7 years later, what that actually was is my brain was just so overloaded with carbon monoxide, my whole system was, and the majority of it lodged up in my brain. Your brain processes the toxins out and you eventually sweat them out, you pee them out, you poop them out, whatnot. That's how they come out. You breathe them out. They come out of exhaled breaths. The brain shock that I was experiencing. So if I was suddenly woken up, especially with the brain injuries, I can't be woken up. Even to this day, I can't be disrupted sleeping or being woken up. It is a significant problem. It will probably always be a problem. There's been several incidences where this has caused a decline in my condition. And this actually went on for about, I want to believe it was the first 3 years that it was that bad, three and a half years, where I could not be woken up at all. And I mean, I still can't, but very extreme those first three and a half years. That brain shock was actually the toxins processing while you're sleeping. Because while you're sleeping, your brain is resting, your brain is trying to repair itself, it is trying to remove the toxins. And if you're abruptly woken up in that state and you are that injured and poisoned, it's the abrupt halt of the toxins flowing, your body trying to process them and remove them while you are sleeping, and then it's disrupted abruptly. But if you wake that person up, the result is this extreme pain within the brain due to that, because a whole bunch was just disrupted all at once, is what I've gathered that was. But I was calling it brain shock. And it happened quite a few times, especially in the extreme part of the injury, and there is no way to make it stop. The extreme pain becomes even more extreme, and it does not go away. You will finish the rest of the day like that, if not even the day after. So I tried to prevent people from waking me up or my sleep from being disrupted. However, not one person seemed to could comprehend any of what I was saying. Even to this day, it's still an issue. So I try to close myself off from other people. I'm some years into this now though, so I did have to get quite a few people away from me in order to try to recover, or I was not going to recover due to all of that. So I did call it brain shock. I don't really know the technical term for it or if there even is one, but that's what I was calling it because that's what it felt like. And there is a bunch of eye twitching kind of going on, even leading up to, let's say you don't overload and you're just being exposed to carbon monoxide. There's quite a bit of eye twitching in different areas of the eyelids, upper, lower, all random times. And I do know that there was other employees experiencing this there in the building as well, over time, long term. I was not the only one. And it did go on for some years for me. I don't believe it really happens anymore unless I have a significant re-exposure or re-injury. And then if I've had several treatments, it tends to dissipate. But it was a significant problem for several years, and I do know other employees were experiencing it. I called it hot toxic breath, but actually what it was is you are exhaling the carbon monoxide, the abundance of it that's in your system. And that is why I was mentioning, if the hospital does not believe you that is what the problem is, and you know that that's what the problem is, and they're telling you it's not. You can get one of the up to the second detectors that I mentioned, I believe in episode 9. It was either episode 9 or 10 where I talk about the carbon monoxide detector. You could take one of those up to the second detectors into the hospital, take a really deep breath and blow in it, and it will tell you that large amount of abundance of carbon monoxide coming from your breath, which should not be in there to that degree. Unless you regularly smoke cigarettes, then it could be like 10 to 20 regularly. But if you do not, it shouldn't be more than 0 or 1 or 2. Even then, I really don't think it should be any, but you do come into contact with little bits of carbon monoxide here and there. So I'd say if it's like 0, 1, or 2, that's not going to be so helpful. But if you are significantly overloaded, it will show a very large number on that the screen of that detector if you blow in it hard enough. And you can always show the medical staff that because their tests will not show that. Now, you'll have loss of daily functioning. That is still a problem for me today and my son. He's almost 9. The two of us do not have daily functioning to this day. So you can expect that to be a long-term issue depending on the severity of your case of carbon monoxide poisoning and if there has been brain injuries as well, because each brain injury also plays a role in the loss of the daily functioning and how much of it you're going to regain and how much rehabilitation and support you have as well. It will play a role. So for me, all these years later, I still do not have daily functioning, but do expect to lose that for quite some time, especially if you are not receiving treatment. Sometimes it can just be extreme fatigue where you can't get up or do anything. And that's how it was in the beginning before I completely overloaded the weeks leading up to it. I could not move off the couch and could not figure out why. So that is a big sign that something is going on, especially if you were pretty high functioning before that or even moderately functioning and this just isn't normal for you. That's a red flag. You'll lose the ability to work. You'll lose the ability to work out. I've never regained the ability to work out from the day that I first stepped foot in that building. I was never able to work out again. I think I worked out maybe 2 or 3 times at my best point in the recovery. I've been significantly re-injured numerous times, so that it's been a while, but I did reach a point where I had a good couple months, a couple times, in the last 9 years. So to maybe work out like 3 to 5 times in all that time period, that's not acceptable. Don't expect to get that back unless you get significant amounts of treatment and you're able to remove the abundance of carbon monoxide, most of what's in there. And then maybe someday you could probably resume that if you do receive enough treatment. The other thing is apathy could be a symptom. You'll feel like a loss of love or like the loss of a bond or closeness with some of your close family members or your children or your parents maybe, or grandparents even. That is a sign or symptom. And it can, I think it can't come back. I'm in a very odd predicament myself, but it's not that I don't love my family members. Of course, I love my children, but I have more going on than the average person in this situation. So I do believe that plays a role. But I do believe, again, if you have enough treatment or your case is not that significant, that is something that would be fixable over time. The other thing I noticed was quite a bit of paleness during the time that I was being poisoned while I was in the building that was causing all of this. There was quite a bit of paleness, and if you Google carbon monoxide poisoning, people who have passed away from it, you will see pictures of people's bodies that were extremely pale, and on any spots that they were laying, it will be extremely red. With me, I was alive and in the building, my lips were bright red, and the rest of me was extremely pale. So those are pictures. You can Google that and find that very easily. And then there was quite a bit of tingling in the face, limbs. It would go up and down the arms, the hands, the face, lips, legs, feet. Now what that is the carbon monoxide flowing up and down in your system where it's overloaded. It's within the cells at that point. It's overloaded everywhere. It's flowing through your whole body. And I do believe they try to diagnose this as, what the heck is the name of that called? They prescribe gabapentin for it, and they think it's like a nerve disorder, but really what it is a toxin replacing the oxygen up and down your limbs and your face and your brain and your everything, and that's what's causing that feeling, and in this case it's carbon monoxide. So I want to say, And I think they prescribe Lyrica as well for this. I'm going to have to come back and look up the name of what I'm trying to say. I can't think of the exact name of this. It's pretty common, actually. So that's what makes me concerned, that there's quite a few people suffering from some carbon monoxide issues that they're completely unaware of. But when I think of that, I'll come back and talk about it. Now, the vomiting and diarrhea, that unfortunately will go on for days, weeks, months, or years, depending on your degree of poisoning, one or both, and nausea. Days, weeks, months, or years. Now with me, the nausea, I have continuous nausea, waves of it, ever since the day of the injury. It's still ongoing today. I did have continuous diarrhea for 6 to 10 hours a day, every day, for the first 3.5 years of it being extreme and it breaking through my brain tissue. And so basically, until you've removed the bulk load of all of this from your system, that is your system expelling the bulk load, if that's what you are experiencing, and that's how it has to come out. Now with me, I've only vomited a handful of times from this and other exposures, but with my son, he was formed in utero, gave birth while suffering from it, and then overloaded it around the age of 2.5. He was experiencing quite a bit of vomiting for quite some time. About a year. It was about a year. Quite a bit of vomiting. Any little breath of carbon monoxide. One little breath. We'd be on the side of the road vomiting, just trying to get to the treatment center and back in one piece. So that was something that was very extreme. And I'm not saying that just because I had, ongoing diarrhea and nausea, I'm not saying that you can't also have vomiting as well. So you could be as overloaded as me, but maybe you're experiencing severe vomiting too. That very well could be the case. And if it's pretty violent and you have quite a bit of it, that, especially in the beginning, that is a very large sign of carbon monoxide poisoning. They eventually diagnosed me with irritable bowel syndrome because the condition was so extreme and it controlled my life. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't plan to go anywhere. I couldn't control it at all. It was because my system was so overloaded and there was nothing I could do along with the injured brain. I really couldn't leave my toilet. I couldn't get that far. So I guess at some point they did diagnose me with irritable bowel syndrome. However, where I am today, it would no longer really be called that, although there is gastrointestinal issues that are ongoing, and it's pretty much exposure based and re-injury based at this point, I guess you could say. There is some issues, nothing as extreme as how it was, but it can flip-flop back to being diarrhea, being normal, and being constipated. It can just kind of slide up and down this scale depending on how you're living your life. What modifications you made due to the carbon monoxide poisoning in your system. There are factors involved. So I'll get into all that so I can kind of direct people how to get out of this in one piece, especially if you are not receiving treatment. Now, yeah, I don't think that's really what you would call anything that I have currently for a while now. But it's very inconvenient, and it does disrupt every aspect of your life. That's part of it. Now, I technically have something called MUSES, which is a form of multiple chemical sensitivity. And what that is because the carbon monoxide broke through the blood-brain barrier and exploded. That blood-brain barrier is open. It's all open tissue. There's no protective barrier to stop the toxins that enter one's system if that is broken. And that's what had happened within me and within my son. So that's actually what causes these things. And this can be caused by other large amounts of toxins that enter one system one way or another. This can happen with all types of different chemicals or toxins or gases. This is not specific to carbon monoxide poisoning, but if it is carbon monoxide related, they call it specifically MUSES, all capital MUSES. Now, anyone else experiencing this outside of carbon monoxide poisoning and you got it, you may know how you got it, or you may not, but it would be called multiple chemical sensitivity, but is basically the same thing, and they are both treated the same way. It is treated the same way the carbon monoxide poisoning is treated, and I will do a whole episode on that and get more into that, because I did manage to get us to a place where we can go out and about in the world a little bit. We can't just go everywhere or be reckless or anything, but we can go places now fairly comfortably most of the time. It's not always easy, but we can do those things now. And there was a very long period of time where I did not know if that was ever going to happen. It went on for years not knowing if that would ever happen. And it is my own merits and my life's work and what I've had to go through and figure out to learn more about those conditions. And what I did learn, because I did quite a bit of reading on these subjects, that most medical professionals, even mental health professionals as well, they're trying to consider that condition a mental disorder, and it is not. It is actually a physical condition. And I will get more into that, how to treat it, the signs that this is the case, and I can maybe even point you, if you can tell me some like basic information, I might even be able to tell you what caused it, but I can tell you how to at least get a little bit of it removed so you could have a little bit more normal of a life, because it will cause someone to be incapacitated and unable to work. And the Social Security system does not consider that a disability or think it's even a problem, when actually it's a very big problem, and it will disrupt your life. You won't be able to work. So I will get more into that separately in its own little bit of videos. But here, I'm going to cut this one right here, about 16 minutes, and I will be back with another one on some more of these symptoms. Thanks, bye.